Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Bite podcast. I am your host, Hunter Myers, and I am very, very excited to be welcoming our guest, Alyssa Moorhead, to the show today. So Alyssa is a visionary, people-focused sales strategist and Forex business owner who returned to Louisville in 2022 after 12 years in New York City and overcoming active addiction. Now, 2.5 years sober, she runs 4 businesses spanning sales support, recovery, speaking and writing, local businesses, and in-person events. She is known for her no BS approach to ethical, relationship-focused sales and fierce advocacy for mental health and recovery transparency. And I am so excited to have Alyssa here talking. We've already kind of did a little debrief before the show. I know we're going to get into some good stuff. But before we dive into the things sales, Alyssa, tell us your story, your journey. How did you get here?
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure always to see Hunter and work with Hunter. And anyway, I am from Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm based right now, and I always dreamed of going to New York. So 2010, I left Louisville, Kentucky to go to NYU. I was fortunate enough to study abroad in Madrid, Spain. I was there for almost 6 months. And I fell in love with New York, not necessarily with someone in New York, just with New York. So I ended up staying way past college. I had one job after college in public relations that lasted a couple of years. At NYU, I got a major in marketing and a minor in creative writing. And I say that as a preface to my degree is completely worthless. And it was not helpful for me because the world of marketing and sales and content creation changes every single day, and anything I would have learned then wouldn't really match with what we need to know now. But mostly, and something we'll talk about today, I really believe, much like meditation, that sales is a practice. And you can learn for the rest of your life. And if you aren't doing no actual practicing, then no good will come from it. So I'm excited to talk about that. But yes, so I got a job in public relations after NYU. Then I got a bigger job doing marketing management for a real estate company that was full of artists, musicians, business owners. They were starting restaurants, speakeasies in Harlem in New York. Very quickly realized with lots of feedback that I was smarter and faster and deserved to be more well paid than I was. And when the people you're serving continually tell you that, eventually you gotta listen. So instead of continually sleeping in my office of my 9-to-5 job, I decided to go out on my own. So my first few clients in 2016, I've been a business owner for about 10 years. My first few clients were real estate agents that in New York, you do something lucrative to pay the bills if you're an artist, and then you do everything else that you want. So they would be real estate agents, but they were also musicians and actors and restaurant owners and speakeasies and theater. So they were a great lot, really fun, and they encouraged me to go out on my own, so I did. And those were some of my first clients, and then everything kind of took off from there. And as Hunter touched on too, I won't skip over the fact that the first 7 years of my business, I was also on and off using. So I was abusing substances while also running a business, and it was extremely difficult, and it took me into a really hard lesson and kind of a sliding doors moment when I finally decided to really have sobriety be my only top priority. I took off from work, from my own business for about 4 months, and it changed everything. I'm really happy and grateful to say that I'm happier than I've ever been, healthier than I've ever been in terms of sales. I have actual savings in different buckets. I have more money than I ever have because I did right by myself and the people that loved me, so I could do right by business and the people that I get to serve in my business. So that's a little bit about my story, and I imagine too we can go into how one business that I started in 2016 has become 4 businesses. So I will talk about that too whenever you want me to.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your like honesty and transparency in sharing your journey. Like, I know that it is something that, there are plenty of people who are navigating it as well who aren't addressing it, aren't seeing it being talked about. And so, like, your ability to be so candid and open about this experience, I think, is so important. And this is honestly, everyone, like, this is what the podcast is about, right? Like, being candid and open about entrepreneurship and all the moving pieces within it and what that means. And so, first off, like, I really, really appreciate that, Alyssa. And I'd love for us to dive in first how the first, like, that one business morphed into four, because I think that's something you don't typically hear a lot, but is fairly common, So tell us what this was like.
Yeah, I think that, so this is not surprising once you get to know me. This would be against traditional business advice, maybe somewhat like the lovely Hunter. I'm kind of a rebel in my life and the way I live my business, run my business. I've been told by very close colleagues, like, you don't always have to do it differently than everyone else, not every single time, but sometimes it just works out that way. I think that's really one of the common traits of being an entrepreneur. Like, if I wanted what most people had, I would be in a different career path. So anyways, I had Nerve Client Studio. That was my first business. It went through different name changes. Nerve Client Studio was originally based off of an octopus, so I won't even go into that specific story. But anyways, Nerve Client Studio was my first baby, meaning my business. I started it in 2016 when I was living up in Harlem in New York City, and I was working almost only with businesses that marketed online. So they might be real estate agents and like do business in person, but they were reaching people through, the digital world. So email marketing, websites, social media, ads, etc. So anyways, that's where I started out, and I got really kind of cozy in the female entrepreneurship community. I will touch on something else important too, which is that I had many poor experiences with male entrepreneurs, like quite bad experiences involving sexual harassment and such. So I've worked almost exclusively with female entrepreneurs, and I was working with others in the online space. So they might be creatives like Hunter, they might be web designers, graphic designers, they could be a marketing agency, public relations agency, other coaches. And I did that really through the time that I left New York and then some. When I left New York, it was 2022. When I came back in business, it was early 2023. And we'll get to this too, but I had an extensive contact tracker of all of these lovely female entrepreneurs in the online space. But I was so fucking sick of being on the internet. Like so tired of it. I mean, it was crushing my soul. And lots of people get burnt out by marketing mostly, and they'll take a break and they come back and they do it different. I didn't want to do things a little bit different. I wanted it to be a lot different. Hunter knows that I'm all about relationships, and I would spend hours each day talking with people on social media, through voice notes, through networking calls, through one-on-one coffee chats online. And by the end of the day, like, I felt like I'd done something good, but I couldn't remember a lot of it. I was exhausted. I mean, work was the one thing getting my energy, not my health, not exercise, not meditation. So anyways, that was a decision that I went through in 2023 that I call this the circle jerk. I call this the circle jerk because my business through 2023, when I came back to work and was utilizing the contacts and opportunities of other online businesses I have, I felt like I was helping online businesses work with online businesses to do more online stuff. And what we sometimes forget is there's actually like a whole universe outside of the computer, and I was exhausted by it. And all of my content was just me going on walks, eating food, taking pictures of the clouds, going to music festivals. And that's what I wanted to be my life first, above my business, like really, really first, not just talking about it. So that was one reason that Nerve Client Studio, which had been my business since 2016 up until 2023, in early 2024, I really made that shift. And I wanted to work with people with in-person events, and I wanted to work with lots of local restaurants in Louisville, Kentucky, where I am. If you don't know, we actually have a pretty booming food scene, like really, really good stuff to eat. And then the last one is that I also work with startups too. So I work with online businesses, I work with startups, I work with food, I work with events, and I also do speaking and writing. So that's kind of the breadth of what I cover, and really I chased my passions. I mean, when I first started business in 2016, who had a business had an Instagram account. We all had millennial pink on every single post. We had illegible cursive fonts. It is truly like a little embarrassing. It has nothing to do with who I am or who I was even then. But in 2016, that's what we were doing, and I just wanted something completely different. So I was working with online businesses in 2016 to 2023 because that's what I knew. That's what everyone else did. That's what any coach, any Instagram coach in their marketing would tell you. And I realized 7 years in that I could actually think for myself. And so I started not just working with online businesses, but also with events and with food and doing speaking and writing. So it's been really fun. I love in-person events depending on what room you're in, and it's really fun to get people involved in those opportunities. I love working with restaurants. It doesn't hurt that I get a shitload of free food. Definitely like that aspect. And then the speaking and writing, I mean, I'm always speaking and writing. So it just made sense to do it because that's what I'm doing every day anyways. And I do believe, as Hunter so graciously touched on, that stories of recovery and mental health need to be a whole lot fucking louder. I mean, I struggled in active addiction for 10 years. There is no logical reason in this world why I should still be here. I should not still be here. And I think that one of the reasons I am is to help other people. So I'm just really grateful that I get that opportunity. I see people that we lose them to addiction every day. I won't go too far into this, but I went to a recovery meeting last night and we lost someone else, and not to active addiction, to mental health. And he was sober when his mental health issues caused him to take his own life. So I just want this stuff to be fucking loud. And I get messages from people all the time like, you know what, I think I maybe am drinking too much. You know what, the one thing I look forward to is smoking weed every single day, which is fine, but smoking weed or drinking. And people tell me that, they have family who have had multiple family members are abusing substances, or they grew up with it, and it changes you. It's if you don't know yourself or someone that is in recovery or maybe would benefit from recovery, you may not know, but it's a totally different life, and it just takes absolutely everything from you. So I'm really grateful that I can bring up that topic, because I'm incredibly grateful and wouldn't still be here and be successful if I hadn't had just complete pour of support from hundreds of people around me. So yes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like entrepreneurship is already incredibly stressful, right? It is incredibly stressful. Add in the online entrepreneurial space, which can feel really isolating too. Okay, yeah, the internet makes everyone accessible, but God, I sit in my office for hours on end by myself, and I am a very social creature. That's why we started the podcast. But it can be so lonely.
It's fun.
Right? It can be so lonely. And when you are dealing with a mental health issue or dealing with addiction and trying to go through recovery on top of all of that, on top of the stress of entrepreneurship, on top of the stress that most people in your friend group probably don't know what the hell you do, understand it, can't really relate. Like that can be really, really hard. Yeah. And so I think it's so good that you are like get louder, let's talk about this is important, because it is. And I love this approach of like rebellion that you have to business. And because guys, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I have known Alyssa for a couple years now, and it is through and through, like it is in Alyssa's blood, rebellion. Okay. And I think it is so refreshing.
I could say the same for you, but add a whole dose of creativity to it. Yes.
I feel like it's so important and such a breath of fresh air in like the online space now. You know, you talked about when you were first starting out, right? Like everyone looked the same, everyone was doing the same thing. And I feel like we still see this, but it's no longer necessarily in the branding or visual space, but it's in like the sales tactics and the marketing tactics and the very templated, like, copy this exact thing that I did and it's going to work for you. And so from the realm of sales, right? And how you look at sales and how you look at lead gen, like how do you bring in that rebellion? Because I know you do it differently. I've worked with you. I know you do it differently. So tell me and tell the audience, right? Like, what does that look like?
I think there's a couple big things that you could take away in terms of sales. One of them would be that sales is about helping people, period. You're offering a helpful service. And let's say Hunter is my prospective client. Either Hunter wants that help and wants to discuss my helping her or not. So that would be my, number one kind of party line. And I can give that definition to someone, but it's my definition. I actually have a sticky note that I just found on the floor that says, like, just remember when you're writing all these emails that you're doing it to help people, to remember the why. So that's a big one, that selling is helping. You're offering help to people that tell you ideally they want help. And if you're not sure, then you need to ask. So that's a big part of the sales process as well as marketing, but the sales process. The second practical tip, if you guys see anything I ever do, you'll know that this comes up in almost every conversation, is that you need a list of people that you have or are going to contact, period. And you can call that whatever you want. You can call it the spreadsheet. You can call it a contact tracker. I was calling it a people tracker for a while, but that has really strange, cognitions for people. I was trying to humanize it more, but it just got weirder. But I have a spreadsheet, and it includes people I have worked with. It includes people that have inquired before. It includes people I'm talking to now. It involves people that I'd like to talk to in the future. And that's it. At its very, most simple, it has someone's name. It has the place where you talk to them and the time that you last talked to them. So Hunter is the name, and this is where we're talking through the email, and this is the last time we talked, and maybe some notes on what we talked about. But that is incredibly helpful. I mean, really, once people get to know me, that's a super type A structured thing. That's not really what people know me for. But I don't get this level of business freedom, financial freedom, the opportunity to consistently make sales if I want to. I don't get that freedom without a structure. So if you're scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through LinkedIn, wherever you're scrolling or going to networking events and feeling like nothing is happening, you need to write those people's names down somewhere. I'm such I have 7 notebooks. I'm such a pen and paper person, but it don't work for ongoing contact tracking. And we can talk more about the wording too, but what you all call might call lead generation or have heard called that, or lead tracking or lead management. It has to be a digital thing, so it's a living, breathing, fluid thing that you can always update. Eventually your notebook is going to run out of space for you to write people's names down, and then we just keep buying them and you can't sort stuff in it, and it doesn't work. So that would be my first thing, is that for me, selling is helping, and that's my definition of sales. But I highly recommend you make your own and then write it somewhere that you can see. I have a bunch of Post-it notes with all different iterations of that motto as it changes. So if you want to write it on a mirror, or write it in your office, or put it on your computer, I have another note on my calendar. But I would define the word sales for you. It doesn't even have to have sales or leads or any of that in the title, but I believe that I'm a person who helps people, and I can't help people in a big way unless we get to work together. I can give them 1,000% of what I can do, but I can help people a lot more if we get to really dig in, and I make a sale, get paid, so I can provide that help. So that would be number one, is that I would create your own definition that makes you excited to do it. And we can't help people unless we get paid and get those contracts. We can't pay the bills and pay off student debt and travel and. Now you guys know my financial goals. So that would be number one. And number two, number one, I would make your own sales definition and write it somewhere. You'll see every day that you're working. And then the second would be, I would start a spreadsheet, and it can really be that simple as name, the contact method, the last time you talked to them, and that's a really good start. I have one, Hunter's seen mine. I think we made another one together, but that would be the second thing. And now I'm afraid that I have veered off topic from the original.
And that is A-okay, because we're going to bring it right back. You are all good. You are all good.
Okay.
Well, you bring up the new definition, and I think that this is really, really important, because I know that for me, right, when I hear the word sales, or that I have to do sales, or that I have to do lead gen, right, my skin crawls. I get so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I get so nervous. I had to write, I'm doing lead generation right now, and I had to write in my journal this morning, Hunter, you are not dying. Your body is acting like you're dying, but literally all you're doing is reaching out to people. So please calm down. And so I love that you have reframed this into I'm not selling people on anything. I am helping. And so I know that you've got a couple of other ways that you have kind of redefined some of these terms, one of which was lead gen. And I'd love for you to share that, because I think lead generation, at least for me, even more than sales, feels even scarier. So new terms, I think, is gonna help me. I think it's gonna help everybody else too who's in the same boat.
Yes. Yeah. So, man, most of the lead generation that I've done for the last 6 months really has been in person networking. So the one thing I would say about that, if you go to in-person networking or if you go to conferences, is make sure you have a business card with your face on it. And also, anyone you give a business card to, ideally you're asking for theirs so you can follow up and they don't have to. And yeah, for lead generation, a lot of what I'm doing, I think, that makes lead generation less scary and skin crawly is that I'm just doing, working it into daily life as a part of my routine. There was a long period of time where, to build a habit, where you would do something for 1, 2, 3+ months to really get it to stick. There was a point in time where every morning, my morning routine, which is a literal list, lead generation, which for me was making content, engaging with other people's content, DMing them, answering my DMs. So it was a lot of online stuff, and a lot of my leads over the years, and this is really simple to remember, I think too, come from Instagram stories, come from me just talking, maybe much like Hunter in some of her podcasts and video content, just comes from me talking fairly naturally about a topic that I'm passionate about and telling people to contact me if they wanted help. In terms of lead generation and the definition, I've almost never, very rarely done like cold outreach pitching people. I think a lot of people think that's what lead generation means, and I loathe it with a burning passion. Like, absolutely hate it. There's no reason, in my opinion, for the types of services that I sell, that Hunter sells, there's no reason for us to be spending time or wasting someone else's time offering help for someone who doesn't want it or need it right then. You know, I have a lamp behind my desk. If somebody wants to message me in an email and sell me a better lamp, that's fine. They probably know that's a commodity. They probably know I have a lamp. Maybe I need a better lamp. I knocked my lamp over on the floor, or my cat did. But if we're selling very specific business services, then we need to make sure that whomever we're talking to wants our help before we ever discuss it. And the first few questions, like if I get into a conversation with someone for my industry for doing sales consulting, and I also do like done for you sales, right now it's mostly for sponsorships for events and also even funding rounds for startups. And so if I get into a conversation in my industry, I have certain taglines that are coming up in regular conversations, which is an inroad for me to ask if they want to talk about help. So for me, that's going to be like, I don't have enough clients, or my referrals have dried up, or I'm totally burnt out and booked up, but I'm so busy I can't even hire somebody else, or I can't take any more clients because I'm busy all the time but not making enough money. I've done this for 10 years. There's lots of common themes that come up, and I'm starting conversations through email, through LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook groups, Facebook, networking events. Like, my practice of sales is having conversations. And regarding that motto that selling is helping, I'm having a conversation. Let's say it's with Hunter, just having a conversation, and then if Hunter has a problem that I could potentially help with, I'll ask Hunter if, you know, they want to go into that and discuss it. But that's really my definition of lead generation. Is I get paid to talk, and I get leads from talking. I just have conversations with people. I think in 2025 we've kind of moved past, which is good, we've kind of moved past like I can't send a message first situation, or I can't, you know, whether you're at a networking event or Instagram or LinkedIn, that like I can't message someone that I may at some point want to work with. They have to message me and say, Alyssa, I want to pay you. That's just like really not how sales works anymore. I can strike up a conversation with Hunter about the plants behind Hunter and how I wish I'd had more plants already behind me. Like, you can talk to people about whatever, and then if we start getting a little deeper and talking about our challenges and one of us can help the other, then I would bring up like, I think I could help with that. Do you think you would want to talk about it? So that's a little bit of an intro of how I approach lead generation, but mostly it's just having conversations, whether they're in DMs or emails or voice notes in DMs or in-person networking events, etc. And then after I'm having those conversations, I'll add someone to my spreadsheet if it's somebody that, you know, wants me to stay in touch with them or wants to stay in touch with me, and keep going. The last thing I'll say though is, that I have built lead generation or talking conversations, having conversations with people, I've built it into my routine to the point that it is second nature for me. And someone asked me yesterday, I'll name drop, her name is Megan Munzel. She's an incredible tax planner, quite spunky, purple, pink, and blue hair. She's fucking awesome. But I was talking to Megan yesterday, who is in that position. She does have a full client roster. She has a team. She's hiring and training more so she can take more clients. And Megan asked me a great question, which is, how do you make time to do lead generation, and how do you do it consistently? And how do you do it not at, 10 o'clock when you're exhausted? That's my bedtime. But anyways, I've built, having these conversations with potential clients into my routine to the point that it's become second nature. I would just say, like, when you're trying to build that habit of talking to new potential clients or customers, I would do it at the same time at least 3 times a week. Hunter knows I used to say 5, but we can't all do that. But I would say at least 3 times a week, the same time of day, and it can adjust as you find your rhythm, but 3 times a week, same time of day, 1 hour, I would be answering conversations you're already having or starting conversations with new people. And it does not matter where. If you want to do Threads, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, emails, in person, whatever you want to do, you're talking to people. You're just talking to people. So I would try to build that into your routine, and eventually it becomes a habit. It's weird not to do it, and I feel like guilty. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, well, I think it's so interesting that, again, like lead gen for you, right, is just relationship building. And that's what sales is like building these relationships and then helping people.
Yeah.
And I think that's so good. A question that I have, because you brought up that like we're approaching this point where like you don't need to be waiting for people that you want to work with to reach out to you, and it makes me think, so I've got this dating analogy with branding, and it makes me feel like you're in a bar, right, and you're like, okay, like right, like maybe I want this person's number, but what I just like make eyes at them until they come over and ask for it, or do I just grow a pair and go ask them for their number themselves, right? And a question that I have then is for the people who have not maybe developed the skills yet, or the, what's the word I'm looking for, resilience to go and ask for the number, right? So the people who maybe need a little help getting that first introduction, or even transitioning the conversation, because I know that can feel kind of awkward too. Like, how would you recommend that they go about doing that? Because you're right. Like, you should be reaching out. If you want to work with somebody, reach out and start to build that connection. I mean, don't guns blazing, here's how much it'll cost, but, you know.
I've done that one time with some familiarity with that person, and it worked. I've done that a couple times where I was like, what you're doing is fucking awesome. I'd be really good at helping in this way. Do you want to talk about it? They paid me that day. But she's a badass and a millionaire, and we had a little familiarity, and I will always mention if we have people in common. That makes me like less of a stranger danger. Like, I'm still a freak, but like a little less scary if I know, 2 or 3 people in common. So anyways, but that's rarely what I'm doing. It's like reaching out to someone I want to work with and just telling them like, I want to work with you. What else was I going to say? There was something. I don't know what it was. But in lieu of that, I've thought about this a lot because about how to start a conversation or approach them, whether you're online or in person. I'm going right now to, last week was absurd, but I did 12 networking events last week because I have 4 businesses. So the events, meetings, etc. I go to span from startups to food and hospitality to women entrepreneurs to all entrepreneurs. So when you have all 4 of those kinds of events, there's a lot of events. So I went to a bunch last week. There were days where I was at like 5 or 6 hours of like in-person networking, which is really tiring. I needed a lot of fried chicken, hot chicken. Sorry, I don't want to stigmatize Kentucky even further. Hot chicken, like there is in Nashville, not KFC. Royals is our favorite for any of you that have that. I think there's a Royals in Cincinnati, Ohio too. But anyways, last week was exhausting, but this week I'm doing less, and whether you're talking to people online or in person, I've really been trying to lead with positivity. And so a couple questions that I'll ask people, one would be either what is the best part of your day so far, or what's the best thing that you're looking forward to today? Which is a different version of like, how's your day going? But we've really overused that. Like we've crushed that one. So I would ask people, depending on the time of day, if it's like 6:45 a.m., probably like nothing that great has happened besides ideally coffee or tea, or your dog didn't like poop on the bed. But after that, you could ask people like, what's the thing you're most excited for today? And then similarly, once we, get to know each other a little bit better, I'll ask people what are they most excited about in their business right now. And sometimes, I'm not shy, but sometimes I have social anxiety and think, I don't know, that everyone can see how big my pit stains are, which is always big. And so, sometimes I'm tired or I just switched, especially because it's summer. I just am only wearing white or black, which I find show it a little bit less. But anyways, those are the two questions I'll ask people. I find that if I'm tired or anxious or just try to shut up and listen, other people will fill the space. And sometimes there's not anything to be said. Sometimes we just want to go be with our cats and be in bed, and that's okay too. You have to have the right energy to be in a conversation that could lead to a sale. So those are two questions, would just be positivity about what are you excited for today and what are you most excited about in business. Besides that, and this may have changed since I worked with Hunter, I really do not try to guide a conversation in any way. That's a big part to bring it back. That's a big fucking part of recovery, is that fairly ubiquitous to every addict and alcoholic, similarly to what we were talking about entrepreneurs being rebels. Most people in recovery have or still struggle usually with wanting to fix, manage, and control. So I wish everything in life would go exactly my way. I wish people would email me exactly when I would like them and pay me the second I want, every single day. I have to combat that and treat that every single day. But really, I have no control over what a prospective client says or does or when. I can give boundaries and I can give ideal timelines, but I can't force someone to pay me, nor should I. So that would be another piece of advice, is just remember that you're talking to another human being with all of their complexities and struggles and distractions. Maybe don't try to guide it so much. Just get to know them and see if you all can help each other. And yesterday I was at a meeting for 3 hours and it was a sales meeting and business had not yet come up, but we had talked about crunchy dick waffles that they have in Amsterdam. And I told this woman, Heather, I was like, Heather, I love your stories about crunchy dick waffles, but I wanted to ask you, because we've been here for 2.5 hours at this point, if you did want to talk about business, or we can talk about it at a later date if you want to. So eventually we did, but yeah, I think that helps to just remember you're human. I've been to conversations where people are selling me and I'm nervous. It's just part of human nature. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Just lead with some positivity, ask questions, let other people fill the space, and don't try to force it, which is really, really hard if you need money. It's also really hard if you really, really, really want to work with that person and kind of know, like a delusional entrepreneur, that you are the only one for the job. But they have to see that too. It has to be their decision. You're only there to support them in deciding if they want to pay you and work with you or not. You're only there to support them in that decision. To the extent that they want your support, they might want to make the decision all by them damn self. So those are some of my practice, ideally actionable tips.
Yeah, well, I think it's so valuable that you bring up, especially the don't force the transition in the conversation. Let it happen naturally. Let it occur naturally. And sometimes, you know what, maybe now's not the right time to have the conversation, but at least you better got to know the person. And I think that's so brilliantly said and put. And I think it's something that we don't hear very often in doing sales. It's hey, here are these trick questions that you need to be asking to get to the sale. Whereas you're saying, yo, make some fucking friends, okay? Get to know these people.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's so weird, but I could name multiple now, best friends. It sounds weird when I get older, but many of my best friends have come from an online relationship, and then like when I met another Megan, the hot girl CFO, my CFO also, when I met Megan, we met on an Instagram thread where she says like finance dominatrix, like she'll just push people around to get them to do what's best for them and tell them, hey, you're fucking up, but like very, very nicely. She's very emotionally intelligent, but she's trying to help them out. And I met her being sassy as fuck in her Instagram threads and messaged her, and I was like, we must be friends. And the first time that we met up was in our swanky hotel room, like in the same hotel room in Mobile, Alabama, where I'd never met this person in real life until she like charged through our shared hotel room door to go to a business conference. But yeah, just make some friends that help each other. If you are sales desperate at any point in time, asking 5 people if they can bring you into a project or refer you somebody can be really helpful. I find lately, as my friends happily become more and more successful, that like, hey, can I get in on this project that you're already doing is more beneficial than like, can you send me a referral at some time in the future? In fact, like 2 people I'm about to hire for this sales meeting I had earlier today, hopefully, both did that. They were like, hey, things are slow right now, or I have a break and I want to work together. Can I come in on something you're working on? But anyways, yes, make some friends and don't force it too hard.
Yes, well, I really, really love it, Alyssa. I know that I want to be respectful of your time. We're coming up on our time. So I want to ask you my favorite question to ask everybody, which is, if you could change one thing in the entrepreneurial space, what would it be?
I was going to say that people should get a spreadsheet and start tracking their leads, but that point is moot if we don't do what Hunter originally asked me to talk about, which is that you're not marketing and doing sales. And I'm going back to the business jargon piece of it, but I would make content and start relationships and start conversations with people. If there was, besides having a lead tracker, if we're going to focus on, yes, making content, email, podcasts, LinkedIn, blog, Instagram, Reels, TikTok, wherever you're doing it, if you're making some content online or even sending mailers in the mail, that is your marketing. And then additionally, you also need to have those conversations. On the marketing side, one thing I would change is people need to do case studies. If I post like the 3 sentences Hunter said about our work together, they could be the 3 best sentences ever. But if I don't tell more of the story, like there's so much more to the story. And you can tell it. If I loved working with Hunter, but Hunter won't give me any feedback for 12 months, then I can tell the story like from my perspective. And that's totally fine as well. Or if you just get, a couple sentences testimonial, but lots of people make content on like, here's my branding service and the 7 steps of it, and it's great. And in addition to it, your marketing needs case studies. Your case study could be, my perspective about my work with Hunter. It could include Hunter's testimonial as well, but you want to tell a story of, this is simple if anybody wants to take notes. The story would be, why did so-and-so come to me? Let's use Hunter's name. Why did they come to me? What was the problem they had? Why did they choose me over someone else to solve that problem? How did we solve it? And what did they or I or both say? It's literally like a hero's journey. If you've ever seen a movie, just copy the same format. Tell the story of how someone found you, what you did, what the results are. So I would say I would love to change that, because unknowingly people are deterring sales and future clients by gatekeeping the stories of the people that they've helped. So tell the fucking story. Like, don't hold it off to yourself. Don't think so much about what to market. Like, just document. Like, here's the story of how I got to work with Hunter. That would be one thing, would be case studies or storytelling of you and your clients on the marketing side. And then on the lead generation sales side, I would have a tracker, a conversation tracker, and put those people in there. So really, the last thing I'll leave with is like, this was my first client I ever did this with. was able to go from $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month. And her feedback form doesn't say very much about our work together, besides that I forced her to use a lead tracker. It really can change absolutely everything. And I would ask her, like, did you do it? Did you do it 2 days from now? Did you do it 3 days ago? And just like got her to build that habit. So those are my 2 case studies over just talking about your offer and your marketing, and then having a lead tracker or contact tracker.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And thank you for telling us kind of the hero's journey of how to make these case studies. People, come on. It's not just about the testimonials, what results they get. And I love that you brought up, why did they choose you specifically? Like, I've made case studies and have not put anything in there of why I was chosen. I'm like, shit, taking notes. So seriously,
there's a lot of people that do great creative work. So yeah, definitely put that in there.
Yes, I love it. Well, Alyssa, how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more, if they want to hear from you, if they want to hop into your DMs and become your best friend? How does that happen?
Hunter will share this information, I think, in the podcast notes too, for the exact lettering. But my Instagram is Alyssa L, like Lauren, Moorhead, and then my email is alyssa@nerveclientstudio.com. So you all can reach me any of those ways if you have any questions about business or sales or mental health or recovery, or you want to chat about my orange cat's butt, just message me, email, or social media, and I am there.
Awesome. Yes, I will have all of that in the show notes for you guys. Alyssa, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was awesome.